Hello and welcome back to the Quad Life. Well, this is day 3 of our Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month, and yesterday we looked at my history and how I got my SCI or spinal cord injury. Today we're going to look at what levels are and really unpack what they mean. So if I say that I am a C2-3 incomplete Asia B quad, then you can maybe understand it in English, at least whatever language you speak. So, first of all, the spinal cord, of course, is the long vertebrae or long spinal column that runs from your head all the way down your back. And every vertebrae is numbered. And there are basically 4 different categories of area that we talk about with the spinal cord. So, say the top 7 vertebrae are said to be in the cervical section. And my injury is between the second and third vertebrae. So I am a C2-3 injury, it's called, because my injury is between the second and third area. So let's look at a little chart here a minute, and we can see this one is color coded. That, as I said, the top 7 there are the cervical numbers. Then in blue we have thoracic or T's. Third we have lumbar, and fourth we have sacral. Now I see these are behind my head mostly, but let's go through these a little bit more. So as you can see on the right, that there is a short description of how every person is affected if they have these levels of injury. So my level is a C2-3. So this fits in the very top section. It says paralysis in arms, hands, trunk, and legs. The patient may not be able to breathe on their own, and ability to speak is sometimes impaired or reduced. It requires complete assistance with activities of daily living, such as eating, dressing, bathing, and getting in or out of bed. And then we see the C5. 6, it gives more information and so forth. So this is kind of a general list, I would say. I know people that have a C1-2 injury, which is one level above mine, and they can barely move their head at all. But as you can see, I have pretty good head movement, and that is generally one of the indicators that you can see a high level injury of C1 or C2 of head movement. Now, it also depends if they had a surgery not long after their injury, that sometimes a doctor will fuse some of the vertebrae in the upper neck in order to prevent further injury. And that, of course, if your vertebrae are fused together, that you won't be able to move your head around as much either. So when I was injured in 1985, of course, at the time of my injury, I was not able to breathe on my own at all. And so therefore, someone came up to our accident scene very shortly after and got me out of the back of the car, because, as you saw in yesterday's video, the car that we were in, it's only a 2-door, and I was in the back. So he couldn't work on me there, so he had to get me out, and laid me on the pavement and helped me to breathe. And that is a common thing for my injury level, and we'll get into that in another day. But let's take a little bit more of a detailed view here. So, again, we have the 4 levels listed of cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and sacral. And Flint Rehab here adds another one of coccygeal, if I'm pronouncing that right. And that is the very bottom of the spine. So, again, this is what the spinal cord looks like, going from top to bottom. It's composed of 33 different vertebrae. And going down, we see here our cervical level, C1 through 7. And then it gets more detailed explanations. And you even get a whole 15-page book if you want. But I won't look at that for now. So these are thoracic ones. And you can see this little diagram here that the thoracic levels of what that they affect. So T1 and 2 injuries affects these vessels in the arm, as well as C5 and 6 affect these as well. So if you have like a C5 or 6 injury, which is a couple levels lower than mine, then you can generally have some arm control. And again, going further down with the thoracic ones, it depends on what your injury level is as opposed to what you can control. Now, there are different qualifications as well, depending on your injury level. So, for someone that has a cervical injury, they're said to be a quadriplegic, or another term that is often used is called a tetraplegic. It's the same thing, and I'm not real sure why the difference actually, other than maybe trying to make it more confusing, which I don't think is needed. But from my experience, tetraplegic is more common in like the UK and maybe in Europe than the US, but don't quite quote me on that one. So, someone could have a C5 or 6 injury and have the ability to partially use their arms and be able to breathe on their own and be called a quadriplegic, or classified as a quadriplegic, as well as me that is not able to use my arms at all or breathe, has the same qualification as quadriplegic. So it can get rather confusing that the same words are used to describe very different abilities, but for now that's the way it is. And then anything below the cervical injury, so below C7, someone is called a paraplegic, that they usually have some or complete use of their arms or hands, but it's not their legs. But it doesn't end there. There are also said to be complete or incomplete injuries. So, what's that mean? Someone with a complete injury has absolutely no feeling below their point of injury, as well as no function or motor control. Someone with an incomplete injury does have some ability below their point of injury. Now, there are various areas or rules defining what can be said as complete or incomplete. But my level of injury is, again, C2-3. But I'm able to do my shoulders. And I do have some sensation of my major muscles, like of my legs and arms, that when they are being moved around and get stiff and that kind of thing. I don't know what, quote, normal feeling is, but I can guarantee it's not the same as that. However, because of these items and being able to feel down to about the top inch of my chest, I've been told that I am an incomplete injury. I have feeling down to about C4. So my diagnosis so far is C2-3, incomplete quadriplegic, and the last item we'll look at is the Asia scale. Now, this has nothing to do with China or Europe or any location, not necessarily Asia. So, looking at this chart here at facingdisability.com, the Asia scale is the American Spinal Injury Association scale that kind of allows more of a way to classify things. So if I go further down here, we can see Asia A and B. And A, again, is complete injury with no motor or sensory function. And Asia B is incomplete sensory. So, meaning that spinal cord injury is not complete, the person has no motor function below the injury level, but does have some feeling, which is me. And when I was injured in '85, the Asia scale wasn't even heard about, let alone being given. So this is something that I've learned about in years since. So, as I said at the beginning, my injury level, or my qualification, is a C2-3 incomplete Asia B quadriplegic. And yes, that is quite the mouthful, but it's a full description of what my injury is and helps at least medical personnel to understand. So that is it for this day. And again, thank you all for watching. I hope you're finding this series interesting so far, but we will continue more tomorrow. And bye for now.